In this lesson, you will learn about insert statement. Select is undoubtedly the most frequently used SQL statement. That's why all our earlier lessons are dedicated to select statement. But there are three other frequently used SQL statements that you should learn. And the first one is insert. So basically the insert statement works in three ways. So let's open the SQL console. So these are the three ways we can insert data into tables. Inserting a single complete row, and inserting a single partial row, and insert the result of other query. Let's see how it works. So let me write the first insert statement. Insert into our student table values 10 comma student 10 comma, and we know that the course C10. And before executing this statement, let's open the student table. So in student table we have ID, name, course, and these are the records in student table. And when I execute this statement, it will insert a new record into the student table. So if I refresh this, so I see 10 S10 C10. Don't worry about the data. So it's all dummy data we are inserting, and we want to learn insert statement, and no need to worry about the data quality. So insert into student is the table name into which table you want to insert, and the values 10 is an integer, that's why it's not in single quotes, and these two are string types, that's why those are in single quotes. So this statement basically inserted one record into student table, and the data stored in each table column is specified in the values, and you should mention the value for every column, and you should not skip. For example, if I remove this, if I run this statement, it will give error, not enough values, because I didn't give the course name. So if I run it again, then it will run. You should give the values for each column in a table in the same sequence of how the table is created. ID, name, course, and ID, name, course. And if you don't want to mention something, then you can, like if you don't want to give course value, then you can give null. So let's change this record number 11. So if you come here and refresh, so 11 S10 null value. Although this syntax looks very simple, but it is not at all safe, and you should generally avoid this syntax. Why I am saying that is because the statement is highly dependent on the order in which columns are defined in the table. This is one of the most common mistake people do when writing SQL statement for inserting data. So we'll see the safest way how we can write an insert statement. So this is okay to insert records for testing purpose, but when you are deploying something which is going to insert data in the production environment, then you should avoid this syntax. So what is the safest way? So let's take this statement, same as this, but here I'm going to mention the column names: ID, name, course, and the values here. C12. So the same, this code is exactly similar to this above one, but I mentioned the column names exclusively here. So if I run this statement, it will insert a record into student table with 12. 12, S12, C12. Okay, that's good. So this is the best practice to use insert statement. You need to exclusively mention the column names. So the difference, if you observe closely, the difference between these two statements, I mentioned the column names exclusively here, and here I ignored the column names. So when you deploy some code like this in production environment, and somebody changed the table definition, they changed the ID, course, and the name, the sequence is changed, or they inserted some new column ID, ID2 in between the ID and name column, then your insert statement is going to fail. But in this case, even though they create a new column or they change the order of the column, this statement will work without any error. So that's why this is the best practice to follow when you are inserting data into the table. Okay, so let's see other variants of insert, how it works. So if you have a value, then you can provide like this, and if you don't have a value, then we are giving the null value. So all values, and if we don't have a course value, then we give null. But in some case, I never get a course data. After some time, they retrieve the course and they don't want to insert any data into the student table. So any course data into in that case, so we go with partial insert statement. So let's take the same statement, simply here remove the course column, and you don't want to insert the course anymore in the student table. So this is the way. So make it 13. If you insert it like this, and your 13 null, always the course will be null when you insert like this. So you can insert as many values as you can, and course is no more populated in the student table. Okay, by mistakenly I inserted 2 rows. So yeah, so this is a complete row insert statement, and this is partial row insert statement. And third one, insert result of a query, and this is important in the insert, please observe carefully. So for example, I want to insert ID and name from the instructor table into the student table under the ID and name columns. So how I can write? Select ID comma name from instructor, and this is what we know, select ID comma name from instructor. And now I want to insert this data into student. So to insert data into student, what we learned just now, insert into student ID comma name. So this part is here now, and instead of values, I'm just simply mentioning the select statement from instructor. So if I run these two statements together, it worked. See, David, Alex, Sachin, Jane, Jia, all are from author table, instructor table. and we have their IDs under the student ID and student name. So this is one of the common practice we use to insert data from one table to another table. So when in your project, when you want to do data staging, then this is one method to pull the data from one table and store it in another table after some transformations or whatever. Okay. And if you know very well the instructor table is having only ID and name, then instead of ID and name you can use star. I'll run again and I got the result. Okay, the records are inserted again. So that's how you can insert data into a table in three ways: insert single row, insert single complete row or partial row, or result of a select query into the other table. So here this is the result of instructor table of select statement, and that result we inserted into student table. So those are the three ways you can insert, and always follow the best practice. Mention the column names exclusively so that it will not break in future. Okay, so that's all about the insert statement. See you in the next session.